let me tell you the ideal way of following up. Turn to page 55. I just talked about key number one. You have got to know what your ideal sales path is. Okay? You got to know where point A to point B is. And if you notice on the little diagram, it's like the game Frogger. Frogger, Jessica, what's Frogger? Come on, you're young in here. Who's younger?
Well, he's the Seinfeld fan.
Well, Frogger's the
Oh, you're a Seinfeld fan. Okay, you're going to go to Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld.
That's a great episode that he's pushing a Frogger game through the streets of New York.
Do you remember that? That was a classic.
Because he didn't want to have it unplugged.
That's right. And it was plugged in the whole time. Have you ever played Frogger? Frogger is where you go from the side of the river to the other side of the river, right? I think that's one. Or cars. You have to go through cars, and cars are coming back and forth. You got to know what your ideal path is before you start your follow-up plan. See, in the old days, I would wing it because I'm so good at what I do, right? I would just make somebody call up and yeah, I'll talk to you and whatnot. I stopped that 20 years ago. What happens when you wing it in your sales process?
You ramble.
You not only ramble, what else do you do?
Forget where you were.
Yes,
Where you were going.
correct. I have every time, and all of you can use this either in an electronic or a printed form. I've got both. I have I call it a PI sheet, which I'm not going to talk to you about in this class, but except right now. It's a prospect information sheet. I call it PI because it's like an inspector sheet. And on the sheet, I have several graphs on there. In fact, I should send this to you because it's such a wonderful thing, especially for you people that sell a service. It's not as good for you. Sorry, Shannon, but there's other things that are good for you. And I have all their contact information on there. I have when I contacted them. It's also electronic. I have, did they go through all the processes and the hoops? And if they don't, I don't continue the relationship. I have them go through the process. Number two, I'm on page 55 still. How long will you follow up? Interesting question, isn't it? How long are you going to continue to get follow-up? Now you, my friend Darlene, I knew you'd look at me when I said you, because you're on probation right now. You kind of gave up after a few times and said, you know what, I'm just going to put them out to pasture and not going to follow up anymore. The way to answer how long you're going to follow up is to know a very key important part about your business and what is the gestation period. Like a baby, it takes 9 months to be born, right? Well, a lot of you give up way too soon, especially when you're working on cold prospects. For example, how often do people buy a house, Darlene?
Well, it depends, but usually, I mean, those that stay in them 20 or 30 years have been there a long time, but most people are every 5 to 7 years.
Interesting. So you have a longer period. What if you followed up only 2 years and then quit?
I wouldn't do business.
No. No, think about this for a minute. You guys are interesting. I don't know how long yours is, Jeff. And
20 years.
You know, some, we've been whining and dining forever, and the Dick's store calls us out of the blue and say, here's a check.
there's a really interesting thing. Do you keep on beating a dead horse, or do you just quit? I have expensive follow-up methods. I have cheap follow-up methods. All of us want to use the inexpensive one right now, and that's just straight old email. But how many of you get follow-ups from people and you just discard them because they come too often or they're not coming right? I just not one of my favorite methods. Go to the next key, page 56. How frequently will you follow up? Do you remember in my example just a minute ago, I was talking about the chiropractor who is following up with me every day. I was a client of his. He was a client of mine. And I haven't seen him for a while. And so all of a sudden he starts this daily email routine. And I opted out. And I hope he saw that I opted out. In fact, I forwarded one of his emails to him and I said, listen, you're killing me here. I don't know what the right answer is for you. This is not one of those cut and dried things.
I've noticed on a lot of companies that offer an email all the time, they'll hit you daily or twice a week, but then they give you options to unsubscribe.
Yeah.
And when you click that, they'll say, are we sending too many? Would you like to get it weekly? Would you like to get it monthly? Which has been great. You know, I have automatically click monthly, and because there are things I don't necessarily want to get rid of yet, but they are.
That's good that people give you that kind of stuff. Those companies to me are rare.
It seems to be more and more the thing, I think.
Oh, it's wonderful if they do that.
Probably as a reaction to what we're talking about.
I am not 100% sold, and don't get me wrong on this, folks, that email is the cure-all to all of your marketing follow-up. Here's another epiphany, another thing worth remembering. If you really want to be an effective follow-upper and use your skills, you don't want to stick with the same media all the time.
Have you used Infusionsoft or seen it?
Tell us about it. I've heard of it, but I've not.
Infusionsoft is a system that builds the path, and it's automated. So you preload it with 6 or 7 white papers, follow-up emails, links to videos, links to websites, and if a person initiates the chain, it's an automated chain reaction. They do this, this happens. They do this, this happens. They don't do this.
Turn to page 58. I did not know there was an electronic version of that. I hate to admit that to you right now. That's what page 58 is. Infusionsoft. I've seen them. I never knew what they did and stuff like that.
Email, like it's only email.
No, I think they also do texting too. That's the one I did. Was
Texting, they do
the text one
links
stuff,
to-
They are now.
and you could track how it comes in and stuff. I saw watched a video this week on it, just to learn more about them. So
Have you guys used it?
We use their competitor,
Who's that?
Green Rope.
Does it work?
It can be, we're still, it is so powerful that it takes a long time to do this kind of stuff, but it does all of our emailing and web tracking and.
I'm gonna pause you right now on this whole follow-up type of thing. Let me tell you the problem that's happened. Infusionsoft is a blessing. Okay, it's a wonderful thing. Infusionsoft and Green Rope is a good thing. We know when we're being followed up by a machine.
Yeah, it's like send out cards. You know what it is.
Yeah, and I think we're smarter than that now. Now the text, if I was going to shoot over text over to Hal right now, he'd open it because I've got his phone number and he knows me, but I know when my dentist is sending out the machine and I know it's a machine doing it. Here's something we haven't talked about, and I'm going to probably talk about it again next week, and that is the lifetime value of a customer. My hairdresser says every time I see a new customer walk in through the door, I know that's $175 walking in my door. She knows how much that person's going to charge each time, how much she's going to make each time. She knows the average length that the person will stay for whatever reason, and thus she calculates it by that. This is really important for you to know your average. Are you going to say something? You moved your hand.
Yeah, but you've gone ahead.
No, talk.
So postcards
Yes.
as versus email. Postcards to me, and not just because I print them, are great. Postages, if they're an actual postcard, not a letter, postage is cheap, they're tactile, they're nice. One of the best things we did, and we only did it for a year, is we bought the rights to a local photographer, Willie Holdman's.
Yeah, did you?
photos. And the front of the postcard every month was nothing but a Willie Holdman photo. No brand, no font, zero. And the back of it was the monthly message. And they looked forward to it. They wanted the next picture.
He is right on, and you're not jumping ahead at all. When I do these classes, people say, are you going to focus in on Facebook? Are you going to focus in on internet marketing? Are you going to focus in on emails? And I say, no, I'm going to focus on what's most effective. And I can still look you in the eye on this. I know that email works, and I use email, but if I knew the value of my customer, I would throw a stamp on something and mail it, because now we have this tangible, touching thing. Emails are so much easier to throw away than something coming through the mail like this. I'm going to send you all an email this week inviting you to my Marketing Stinks class in a couple of weeks that's free in this exact room. And we're going to talk about tangible mailers. Tangible mailers are more effective now because now everything is electronic. And now we have that kind of teeter-totter, and people say, fine, forget it. I can send out 10,000 emails for X amount of dollars or mail out for the same amount of money 1,000 postcards. But you're looking at the wrong end of the stick here. You're looking at what works and what doesn't. Just because you can doesn't mean you should be doing it. If you keep on sending out emails and you keep on getting kind of the same response, I don't know what kind of metrics you're using. Are you guys measuring everything as best you can? You guys got to twist something up here. And I don't know how much you're paying, and I guess I could drill you right now, but you know how much you're paying on that, obviously, because you pay the bills and stuff like that. Have you thought of going to something that's a little more expensive and trying something that's a little more bizarre, a little more tangible? You may think, well, wait. I can spend $1,000 here to reach 10,000 people, or I can spend $1,000 here to reach 1,000 people. I know what you're thinking.
We
It's
do
not.
mailers too, it's not just.
Okay, good. I'm going to pick on you even more now. What works the best? What gets you the most effectiveness? The emails?
Emails, well, actually, people coming to our website and responding, I mean, just to, well, I guess it depends on what it is. I mean, an email goes out and then we have 150 people register for our website.
Okay. When you guys are measuring things like that, don't measure just click through and all that kind of stuff or how many people visited. What we're measuring is when somebody finally gives you the credit card information, you got to go work backwards. I call this a salesoscopy. It's my word, and it's from colonoscopy. And you start with the output, and you work that way to the mouth. And the reason you want to work this way, because this is all that matters, is the output. I know it's a disgusting analogy, but doesn't it make sense? So what if you have you're reaching 10,000 people and you had a 90% click-through rate, but then nobody bought? And so if you can go back and figure out where the genealogy of all these customers were, it might be a little more enlightening. I'm not picking on that email's better. It sounds like I'm dissing one or the other. No, it's about M5, what's working, what's not, for all of you.
So using that as an example, how much of the result of those that end up buying, how much of the result of that is personality driven and how much of that is group things driven?
Well, I tell you, man, if you could attach something to what the exact result of that was, it would be wonderful. I'm going to tell you another story about my chiropractor. This guy's an idiot. He's a client too. Man, let me tell you why he's an idiot. He wants to do nothing but email because that's the cool thing to do now. That's what society wants. And if I told you the story again, you're going to hear it again because it's so important. He, every year, still sent out a traditional Christmas card. Were you here at the story last time? Okay, I'm going to tell the short version of it then. He mailed out something that worked, and then he stopped using it. And he says, but that's not what the millennials want. And I says, the millennials have talked. They're here. They're in here getting adjustments. It's working. And so once you find that holy grail of what's working, don't tell anybody else about it. You can tell me. I'm like your doctor. I can see everybody naked. Okay? But once you find something, then what you want to do is once you find that something works, take it to the next level and see if we can improve those, either by changing message, media, or who we're talking to, the market. And then M5, measuring what's working. But for some reason, I don't have enough time right now to drill and to find out why you guys are clogged, because you have a lot going out, but you're not having the effect that you need. And I'm guessing it's message. I'm guessing you're not making them cry when they get the email or the postcard or whatever you send out. Okay?
I'd like to know what he puts on when he gets such a good result. You say it's different information each time you send it out.
Well, we've done a few, depending on the audience, but one we did was, we sent to clients that we knew were golfers, and each month was just highlighting a Utah golf course. And we did one for outdoorsies, highlighting a hiking trail in Utah. So a home repair tip, an auto
Information.
tip, but, I mean, it's just informational. It was nothing about us. They knew who it came from, but it wasn't anything about printing or promo.
Just as a practical example, the cards he sent out, we were included in the photo series that he did. I got 2 of them framed, and I know where I still remember where they came from.
But he could have emailed those, a PDF of them.
Sure, and I could have made it my wallpaper, but I like both.
I'm picking on him for a very reason.
I like both. I personally like both. We have one company that does nothing but networking, the original Scrapbox. Boom, boom, boom. She lives in
Yeah.
South Africa.
Yeah, she's good at that
and
though.
Constantly, that's all it does, and that's where all the, and trade shows.
Yeah.
That's it, and it works great there, but we have other products in other countries where we have to have the hands-on, and so we have to marry it all together.
When you're remembering to follow up, remember you have only 4 media, and the best media at all time will always be the personal media. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you could, Jeff, I'm picking on you because you guys are a little clogged there, is if you could go visit these people face to face. I mean,
He does quite a bit.
do you? You're out on the road a lot? The next, personal media, ear to ear. Wouldn't it be nice if you pick up the phone and have a conversation with a friend? If I picked up the phone and talked to all of you, you would take my call. Because now we have a relationship, right? The personal letter, I don't know why people don't use that more often. Why? Because it takes so much time to handwrite a letter. My client, I did not know there was an A-list at Chick-fil-A. Does anybody know about the A-list at Chick-fil-A? There is an A-list for people that are real heavy users of Chick-fil-A. She got in the mail and showed it to me. I wished I would have taken a copy of it. It was a hand-addressed invitation to come to the Grand America for a party for A-listers for Chick-fil-A. We're talking about little chicken nuggets, okay? The envelope was addressed, I guess. Careful. You Southern boys just know what chicken's all about. But you only do it one way, fried or nothing else. Real stamp on it. The return address was handwritten. She opened it up, and it was like you sent something out for your daughter's birthday, hand addressed. It's May 15th, it's here. Can you imagine? Why did they do that? They could have just sent out a postcard. By the way, I love postcards, and that's one of my favorite secret weapons of marketing is the postcard. Why hand addressed? Because it worked. And that's what I'm saying when you're following up. I want you to believe in following up, but I want you to try different methods. On page 58 is an old-fashioned way of following up, and I do this way because it works still. If you see, this is a system that has worked for years. I send out an intro letter. Then 4 days later, I send out another intro letter or email. That's what that meant. 4 days later, I do another one. Then I give them a call. And depending, like Russell is saying, depending on the response, it moves that way, one way or another. How many of you are using a system like this right now, either electronically or by hand? I don't feel sorry for showing you this kind of stuff because this can be done by hand. Even Mr. Infusionsoft is not using Infusionsoft. Now, you guys are using something that's similar, but...
You have to do this to use Infusionsoft.
Yeah, you do have to do this. This is a template on how to do it. Okay, turn back a page to page 56 where it says key 4. What are you going to say when you follow up? This is where you have to get creative. I had a real estate person, believe it or not, follow up with me every month with a postcard, which I love postcards, but it was a recipe every month, and I was tired of it. He should have mixed up his message a little bit, and it just didn't work out very well. Turn the next page. What media will you use when you follow up? The 4 most effective media. Personal. If you can use personal media, you can have much more effect on what's going on. That's the talking, that's the visiting, that's the calling, that's the personal email, that's the personal note, it's whatever's personal. And of course you can use the internet and things like that. I had a client that was a master at follow-up. They knew their market. The name of the company was called the Mount Holly Club, and they sold a ski resort down in Beaver, and they sent a big box as the first thing that the person got because they were selling $1 million properties. It was huge, and they mailed it via FedEx because they knew their market. The rich market wanted something that was really cool, and in this box was a hat, was a brochure, was a pen, was a little video or a DVD. I can't remember what else we put in it, but it was literally this big. And then they would follow up again and again with different media, and it was just wonderful. So then finally you got to measure what's working and what's not. And that's why I'm saying you want to analyze this. What is insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If you're not getting people to respond, then try something new. I do it all the time. And because I try it, I know what's working and what's not working. So anyway, that's follow-up. Page 59, this particular system that I'm showing you had the pre-written letters, just like Russell's talking about, meaning that I'm going to follow up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow up, I'm going to do this, and it's pretty good. General Patton says something really interesting. This is not in your paperwork, but it's really good. He says, a good plan executed today is better than a perfect plan executed next week.